Okay, cadets, I'm going to be starting a two-part series on naval aviation. We'll be starting from the ground up. Okay, after this lecture, you'll be able to understand the background of U.S. Navy aviation, and you'll have a good understanding of the aircraft that we use in the Navy today. Pretty simple objectives explain the background of naval aviation. The father of naval aviation is Eugene Ely, accomplished two significant milestones in naval aviation. Was first pilot to complete a takeoff from a ship in November 1910. Was the first pilot to successfully land an aircraft on the deck of a Navy ship in 1911. The Navy attempted to combine aircraft with the fleet with four distinct approaches in the first era of aviation. The first step, propeller-driven combat planes took off from small early aircraft carriers. This was followed by flying boats, flew anti-submarine warfare ASW patrols. They were the first long-range reconnaissance aircraft for the Navy. Another phase of naval aviation was lighter-than-air aircraft. These were blimps, like you see flying over football and baseball stadiums today. They were used for long-range reconnaissance aircraft. Then another phase was pontoon planes operated from ships other than aircraft carriers. These were short-range reconnaissance aircraft. You need to understand, when this aviation started, we didn't have radar. These type of pontoon planes were typically carried on large deck cruisers or battleships. The captain of the ship wanted to see what was out ahead of the battle group or his battle fleet. They would launch one of these aircraft off the stern of the ship. The pilot would fly out ahead of the ship to see what was out there, and then turn around and come back and make a report. As things progressed, they eventually outfitted radios with him, and where he could radio back reports. Now the cumbersome part about this, when the plane got back to the ship, he had to land in the water and then be craned back aboard the ship. The second era of naval aviation followed. Modern-day jet aircraft. Modern-day aircraft carriers with angle flight decks and advanced launch and recovery systems. The helicopter, as well as modern-day aircraft such as the V-22 Osprey. And let's not forget our long-range reconnaissance aircraft and command and control aircraft. The first aircraft carrier, the USS Langley, CV-1, commissioned 20 March 1922. Originally was a coal-carrying ship, but converted to this new purpose. This was followed quickly by the USS Lexington, CV-2, and then USS Saratoga, CV-3, previously commissioned as cruisers, but approved for change to aircraft carriers in 1927. So from the early 20s all the way up till the start of World War II, naval aviation wasn't looked upon very favorably. This all changed when World War II came along. During World War II, air power became the key to the strategy and execution. Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941, showed the effectiveness of long-range carrier-based strikes. Just to give you an idea about how drastic the aircraft carrier changed naval warfare in World War II, from almost the dawn of sailors putting to sea on board warships, wooden warships with cannon, steel shot and cannonballs, old-fashioned cannon fire, all the way up until World War II. Sailors put to sea. If they got in a battle at sea, the last one to stop shooting was the winner. Two ships saw each other, they would start shooting each other, and whoever whoever was the last one to shoot was the winner. In World War II, the aircraft carrier changed all that. The Battle of Coral Sea, May 1942, aircraft carriers went into battle. Aircraft were launched from both Japanese and American ships. It was the first over-the-horizon sea battle in history. Both the Japanese and the American ships never saw each other. The aircraft, the pilots in the aircraft saw each other, and they saw their targets of the ships, but the sailors on those respective ships never saw their enemy. In the early years of naval aviation, lighter than airship craft were used for scouting missions. Today, helicopters are used as scouts as well as rescue and air patrol. They can also be used in other missions as well as anti-submarine warfare, special warfare operations, down to something simple as moving supplies and carrying the mail. They have become a very versatile, and I cannot imagine being in the Navy without helicopters now. Modern naval aircraft are divided into two major categories: fixed wing aircraft, your typical airplane that everybody's used to, and rotary wing or helicopters. Okay, cadets, let's pay close attention to this slide. There's three important developments in aircraft carriers that came out after World War II. You may see this again sometime later on in the semester, definitely at the end of the year. Angled flight decks came out in 1952. This allows a modern day aircraft carrier to actually launch aircraft and recover aircraft at the same time. Steam catapults. This came out in 1954. This allows us to launch 60,000-pound aircraft to a speed of 150 miles an hour in 2 seconds. Nuclear power came in 1961 in the form of the USS Enterprise being commissioned and put into service. This gives us endless capabilities. These carriers run on nuclear reactors. They can go in speeds of excess of 30 knots. They only need to be refueled about once every 12 years. So typically they only refuel them twice in the lifetime of an aircraft carrier. Let's talk some aircraft missions. First up, fixed wing aircraft. Their missions: strike against enemy aircraft. In other words, that's when we're going to attack another enemy aircraft. They can also attack land-based targets and other ships. They'll also be used to protect the fleet from enemy attack via aircraft and surface ships. They perform undersea warfare, in other words, submarine hunters. They also do photographic reconnaissance and escort duty for both other aircraft and surface ships. They can perform reconnaissance missions and early warning missions. Helicopters, we all love them helicopters. Their missions: amphibious operations, vertical replenishment, that's supplying ships at sea. Search and rescue, they're like the Coast Guard. When you're down on Galveston Beach, see the Coast Guard flying around, pulling people out of the water for knucklehead swimmers. The Navy can do this same mission when we're out in blue water operations, as we call it, for the battle group. Minesweeping operations, undersea warfare, in other words, hunting for submarines, special warfare operations. They're a very versatile part of our naval aviation mission. Tri-service designation means that a given model of a plane has same code whether used in Navy, Army, or Air Force, or the Marine Corps. Basic designation structure: 1 letter plus 2 number plus 3 optional another letter. Basic designation format. The first designation character is going to be a letter, as you can see in the chart below. A for attack, B for bomber, C for cargo, F for fighter, H for helicopter, and so on. The difference between A for attack and F for fighter: attack is you're attacking another land-based or shipboard target. A fighter is fighting another aircraft. Aerial combat. Example, F-14. F is a fighter. As I just spoke, the F stands for fighter. 14, as you can see in the slide, 14 tells me this is the 14th design of this particular type of fighter aircraft. All right, let's take this one step forward. S3B. S tells me it's going to be a submarine search aircraft. The 3 tells me it's the third design of this type of submarine search aircraft. The B, okay, anti-submarine aircraft, third design. B shows that there's a modification to the third design. So it's still the anti-submarine aircraft, third design, with a modification to the third design. Okay, sometimes we can change the mission capability of a particular type of aircraft. When the mission of an aircraft changes, a second letter goes in front of the basic mission letter. As an example, FA-18 tells me this is a fighter attack aircraft. They have gone and made a modification to this aircraft where it can be used for other mission. EA-18, special electronics aircraft. The modification has been changed, so now it's EA-18. Okay, cadets, this brings us to the end of the phase 1 of this multiple two-part lecture series on naval aviation. If you're a face-to-face cadet, ask me now. If you're a KVA cadet, shoot me an email or commander an email or give us a call on the phone. That's it. Mash Chief out.